Welcome to the practice of being human. Today, we're going to be talking about nervous system and trauma because this is something that is being talked about a lot. I have been listening to a lot of very wise humans out there who are practitioners in this and learning so much from them and understanding that it is very layered and that there is a lot to this. So we pace ourselves and take it one step at a time. And I think the more we know, I always feel like information is power, but just the understanding, opening the door to what is possible here and addressing this with so much heart and curiosity, compassion for sure, and a willingness to know that there is a path here that hasn't been explored to the degree that I think it's being explored now. And this is so much about the inside out work, right? It's so much about meeting ourselves on the insides and really nourishing and unpacking what's happening in there so that then in terms of our expression of those things, there's an alignment. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today because I love my people so much. I love being a human. I also find it to be a lot and it's big. And I know that my clients feel similarly. And so, with my four young adults as well, who are kind of doing their own process, going back and then being right here in present moment, and also considering next steps for them in their lives, I just think there's no more important thing to continue to understand and learn about. So, we're going to talk about nervous systems and we're going to talk about trauma and we're going to talk about things that really matter, but also to recognize that there are some incredible practitioners out there who are doing some really deep and good work. I just want to continue to honor that and honor you and share with you what I am learning and what I know, and recognizing that I'm always open to learning more. So here we go. So think about when you were a child and how perfect you were. You were just perfect, right? Whole, innocent, and good. And you were utterly dependent. And I know when I heard this initially many moons ago, I remember thinking not much about that. Like, well, yeah, we were dependent because we needed our caretakers to make sure that our needs were met. But I understand it differently now to know that to be utterly dependent, it's a little different as humans than it is for other mammals because they tend to need a little bit in the beginning, but then they are put out into the world in a way that's very different. We humans need time. We need nourishment. We need to have someone who is mirroring to us, who is aligning with us, and who is co-regulating us for a longer period of time. And I would just say it's years versus months or days in comparison to other animals out in the world, right? So to be utterly dependent is a big deal. And your nervous system knew something before your mind ever could. And that is if I'm not held, fed, soothed, or seen, I will not survive. That is essential to my survival, to be held, to be seen, to be soothed, to be fed, right? So you did what every intelligent little human does. You adapted. You figured this out. You felt something very big move through your tiny little body. And I'm sure I can't even go back to what it would be to be an infant, but I know like there's got to be feelings that are just enormous because we're born into a world where feelings are happening all the time. And we don't have the skills to know how to process those feelings. We just express them so freely, so openly. And that's why I think Two, when you think about soothing a baby and then you think about, quote, the terrible twos, people talk about that like it's a bad thing. And I think, oh my gosh, to be able to see the twos as a time where the little ones are starting to assert their independence, assert themselves, and to express themselves. And yet we adults tend to want to tamp it down and be like, okay, it's not okay that you're angry, or you need to quiet down, or we're not really attuning to them and understanding it's just inconvenient, right? And so when you feel fear or rage or grief or need, instead of this safety that you're so desperate for, you feel a distance, you feel maybe a coldness, you feel a shutdown, a tightening, right? And a look maybe from your caretakers that are like, it's just too much, right? You might not have the words for that, but you have the energy exchange of that. You get it because of the bodily energetic response to it. And a nervous system that couldn't meet yours. So it wasn't able to regulate, co-regulate you. So without language, without choice, what do you learn, right? You learn that this feeling is dangerous, right? There's something about this feeling that isn't well received. So your body does what bodies do best, and it adapts, it protects you. There's a woman that I've recently learned so much from about the nervous system and trauma. Her name's Irene Lyon, and she teaches so clearly that trauma is not the event. It's the incomplete survival response that never got to finish. Trauma is not the actual event. It is the incomplete survival response that never got to finish. So your body, in whatever situation you find yourself, wants to cry or shake or yell or run or reach, but it couldn't. So it froze. And I know you guys have probably heard these words, at least I hear them often, functional freeze, right? I've been hearing that so often. I'm like, what exactly is that, right? It's practiced so often when we're little people. It's like we kick into this response to our environment where it could be a parent yelling at us, it could be a look, it could be someone's about to come at us and we freeze, right? Our body just freezes and it braces, right? It shuts down parts of you to keep you alive, which is part of the brilliant design, right? So I always think of the body, I think of the mind, I think of the interconnectedness of all of these things with such respect. And I marvel at the brilliance of how we're made and designed and how we learn to survive, because that is our primary number one MO, is survival. And so in those moments that we felt unsafe for whatever reason and we braced, we made deals with ourselves. Not consciously and certainly not conscious, but it was biological, which was what? I will not feel this if it costs me connection. And what does Brené Brown say? Like, neurobiologically, we are wired for connection. That is who we are as humans. So what do? We pay the price, right? We understand that I will not feel this thing if it costs me connection. And what we do in those moments is we trade authenticity, we trade what is true for us for attachment. And it makes every bit of sense. And it works. Because what happens is we stay close, we stay fed, we stay loved, but it's conditional, right? Over time, and because I work with young adults, and then of course I also have the luxury of working with the parents, and then kind of everyone on the spectrum, decades later or years later, here we are, right? We're tired, we're anxious, we're braced, we're disconnected, we're performing, and we wonder why we are so tired. Right? We wonder why we have such strong reactions to things, or that we are so frozen or stuck and we can't quite find the flow. Because all that's left in those situations are more adaptations. It's being the good one, the agreeable one, the strong one, the pleasing one, the hyper independent one, the caretaker, the achiever, right? All of these things we learn to be and to do and to perform because they get us love. They get us our feeding, metaphorically and literally. We get our needs met when we fit into these adaptations, these boxes, these coping strategies that, again, are brilliant, but don't serve us long term. And this is what I think many call the ego. But what Irene Lyon says is this is a dysregulated nervous system doing its job well for way too long. Living this way is exhausting. Have you noticed? Imagine holding your breath emotionally for 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, 40 years. Eventually, your body demands relief. This is where I think things like addiction enter the picture. And I love Gabor Maté's work, where he has taught me so much about understanding addiction. So when I have a client or a friend who is struggling and battling addiction, I don't see it as a pathology. I see it as an adaptation, as mercy. I see it as something that has come into the picture because there's no other skill set available or capacity available at that time to know how to process these big, painful things. So what do? We turn to substances, to something that gives us relief. And Gabor Maté teaches that addiction is not the problem. It's the attempt to regulate what was never regulated with us, for us. Imagine just taking a moment of quiet, a pause from this hypervigilance, a break from performance. Imagine what that would feel like. And when the body isn't able to do that and doesn't get relief, it escalates in ways that we recognize and we can name: anxiety, inflammation, autoimmune illness, chronic fatigue, depression, right? There's lots of manifestations of this. And something I've learned from Kelly Brogan, she reminds us, and as Irene also echoes, the body is not malfunctioning in these moments. It is communicating. Your body is not against you. Your body is relentlessly for you. That was game-changing for me in understanding this. And I remind my clients of this over and over. Listen to understand, right? I love you. I'm listening. I remember Sarah Blondin, the meditation teacher, teaching me this line, and I was like, oh my God. And it was so foreign, but it's so powerful. I love you. I'm listening to my body. Your body is not against you. It is relentlessly for you. So much so that it will create symptoms before it lets you disappear entirely. And it will even choose your relationships for you, because relationships activate the nervous system faster than anything else, right? So think about the little boy whose anger was unsafe around his mother. He becomes the good guy, the nice guy, who cannot access his fire and somehow ends up partnered with someone who, guess what, expresses anger for him. This happens all the time. And I've seen this in relationship, seen it in my own. This young boy who cannot access his fire because he's so afraid of upsetting, hurting his mother and protecting. His body is trying to finish this old loop. So how does he do that? He seeks a partner who expresses these things for him. And then there's the little girl who learned that closeness leads to abandonment. So she becomes the woman who, guess what, doesn't need anyone. So she keeps choosing emotionally unavailable partners. She becomes hyper independent, but she needs these things, and yet she can't access that. She won't even consider what that would feel like because she doesn't even know it's available to her, possible for her. So she seeks that in the relationship, and that's how those two partners come together. It's kind of brilliant, again, right? Her nervous system is replaying what it knows, same with his. And again, this isn't sabotage. It is biology seeking resolution. And I think that is so enormously beneficial to understand, because then that explains so much about attraction and why we're drawn to the partners that we're drawn to. And these partners can be fabulous, but they also are the ones that are going to bring up all our wounds, all our shit, right? And we the same with them. It's kind of perfect. And we have the opportunity to do the work and the healing that can follow, and or we get to a point where we're like, absolutely, I'm out. Like, this person's not doing it for me, and they just activate the shit out of me. So I'm going to go find another partner. And yet, the opportunity, the gold is to stay and figure this out and be with this. I'm not saying you stay long term, but if it's a safe place to be, safe enough, I think emotionally that is where the real gold is. So it's biology seeking resolution. What I mean by this is trauma is not that the mom yelled or that the mom was hurt or upset. Trauma is that your body never learned it could discharge fear or upset or anger and return to safety. So trauma is not that the dad was absent. Trauma is that your system learned, I'm alone with my feelings. I feel isolated, like I am on my own. And as Dr. Becky Kennedy teaches this so brilliantly, nothing was wrong with you. You adapted brilliantly, right? So here's the truth that we're rarely told, but I'm going to tell you today. Insight alone does not heal trauma. Talking alone does not heal trauma. Healing requires the body. It's not just the mind. They're interconnected. So as Irene Lyon teaches, we heal by slowly, safely, and gently, teaching the nervous system that the danger is over. It passed. It's from the past, right? We are not returning to that very moment of danger. Yet that's what our body feels in those moments. So how do we teach the body that we are safe right here, right now, and help the nervous system come back to center, to safety? And she talks so much about this is a slow process, this healing process. We heal by slowly, safely, and gently teaching the nervous system that the danger is over. And that doesn't just happen overnight, right? It's not by forcing the release. It's not by reliving the story, but it's by building capacity, okay? So by feeling just a little more than before. And that speaks to me so genuinely because I see this with my clients. This is one step at a time. This isn't all or nothing. This isn't in one fell swoop. It's a process. It's a journey. It's an adventure, right? And it's one that requires so much TLC, tender love and care. For those of you who don't know that acronym, it's letting the body complete what it once had to stop. And healing, it's not this very dramatic thing. It's subtle, it's slow, and it is profoundly kind. And it can be so scary and terrifying in the process. And yet, it does require something of you because healing means letting the mask fall and letting your voice shake, right? So this can look like, and this manifests in many, many ways, but it can look like your voice shaking, letting your no be spoken and felt, letting your truth exist, even if it disrupts connection. Here's the line I want you to take with you today. If you're not willing to risk conditional love for embodied truth, for what is real, what is true, your nervous system is going to continue choosing survival over freedom, survival over that truth, survival over safety, true safety. And this is not a failure, but it is an invitation. And the invitation is to stand up for your life. Slowly, take your time, but do stand up slowly. To come home to your body gently. And we find different ways of doing this. There's all sorts of methodologies and mediums for that. And it's also to stop performing safety and start feeling what safety is. Not performing for it, but feeling it. What is it? And when you do, and I speak from my own experience as much as I've seen this with my clients, your breath deepens, your relationships shift, your body opens, softens, it lands, not because the world changed, but because your nervous system and you, your heart, your mind, your body, finally learned that you are right here, right now, in this moment, in this present moment. You are safe and that you survived. So, my friends, take some time to be with this. As I do, I kind of let things just percolate and marinate. And I'll be really curious to know your thoughts. Would love to hear from you when you're ready. And look forward to being with y'all next week. Sending so much love as always. Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.